Wanting to get away usually starts and ends with where you're going and how you're getting there. Truth be told, you either have to be passionate about planning or going with someone who is to avoid the unavoidable pitfalls. I'm the guy that loves planning trips. I'm the guy that practices these details that I'm about to share with you. So let me guide you through the science of traveling. Effects. Now, I've been lucky enough to execute some exciting weekend getaways, including 2 mini birthdays in Vegas, LA, Mexico, San Francisco, just to name a few. So when you finally get that itch and you're ready to plan your weekend getaway, the first thing I would tell you to do is check to see when is the cheapest time to fly to that destination. If you're flexible, you have the ability to search through multiple airlines and multiple dates to find that perfect match. Now, I've done it all. I've done one ways on one flight, one ways back, bought one way early, bought the other one later. But I found that just getting the round trip, if you plan early enough and you could just knock a round trip out, that's just one less thing you have to do for planning, ease of mind, and you don't have to deal with different airlines, different rules. They have carry-on rules, baggage rules, and you could possibly forget or get confused on what's what, and just another wrinkle and a headache to planning a trip. Most of planning is being patient and leaving no stone unturned. And one side note with the traveling, if possible, it's a little harder now because of the pandemic and everything, try to get direct flights, because I've been in situations where I left San Diego late because of weather out of their control, got to Chicago late, that plane left, and I had to spend the night in the Chicago airport, and they're just looking at you like, acts of God or natural, they always put that in your contracts or whatever, so I end up having to spend the night in the airport. So if you can get a direct flight, try your hardest to do that. Now, at the same time you're looking for flights, you want to be looking for the weather around the time you're thinking about going. Nothing ruins a trip more than it being too rainy, too gloomy, too cold, or too hot. I made the big mistake of going to Joshua Tree in Palm Springs for the first time during my birthday month, which is August. We have arrived at the hotel. It is 115. By gathering this information, you can line up the cheapest time to fly with the perfect weather to help you hone in a specific date. Next, let's say, for example, you look and you figure out August is the time you want to go. Now we want to research that time in a month to see if any events happen, for 2 reasons. The first reason is on the preparation side. You want to know if there's going to be any big fights, if there's going to be any beer festivals or any events that's going to jack up hotel prices, that's going to make it hard to get car rentals, food's going to be expensive, parking, etc. Knowing this can give you an idea if hotel prices are going to be driven up, if it will be overpopulated, and if you're just going to be overpaying in general. You can account for traffic, car rental availability, etc. Based off your preference, you can continue with this month or pivot to another time. To that same point though, while you're checking for those events to see if it could be a negative, you also could check to see if it could be a positive for you. While you're checking on events to avoid things, you can also check on events to make the most out of your trip. Does this place have a major sports team? Maybe you could go on a weekend when they have a home game. Is there a concert or a festival that month? Start to learn the place that you're going to get a feel of what you can get into. Many Vegas trips, I've bought pre-sale tickets to get into clubs where we knew rappers were going to be and they were going to play the type of music we like. And when you get to that club, while everybody else is just paying at the door like normal, I pull out the QR code, scan, we walk straight in like VIP. If you got the answers up until this point, you should have a specific date of when you want to go. Now here comes the fun part. Hotels. Trying to navigate between reviews, locations, and pictures is fun. First thing I try to do is figure out the nicest hotel with the closest distance to the event I'm going to at a decent price. That's my math equation. I repeat it. You want to combine a nice hotel with a close distance to the event you're going to at a decent price. Boom. One of the main reasons you want to be close to where you're going to be at is to avoid traffic. And also if you're going to be drinking, shorter Uber rides are cheaper. Now, I've spent money I normally wouldn't spend just to have luxury, only to get a basic room. High price does not equate to luxury. One of the things I like to do is dive into the reviews to get an idea of what the hotel really is. Here are a few ways to navigate through the nonsense. The first thing I do when I look at a review page is filter for most recent, not top review. I need to see what people are saying right now. Next, me personally, and this is a personal choice, if I see any mention of bugs, roaches, bed bugs, whatever the case may be, I'm not doing it. There's so many options for me to go take a chance on something that mentioned roaches, especially when they have pictures too. Now, I usually search 3-star reviews for real info and 1-star review for service info. If the 1-star review seems like an isolated incident, I don't usually pay it any mind. But if the 1-star reviews have consistency, that's when I start to take notice. The reason I've decided to look at 3-star reviews because I feel like that's when someone's giving their honest opinion. Think about it. Whenever you've done a survey or submitted something, usually if you give it a 5 off the rip, you're just running through it, or if you give it a 1, you just hated it across the board. But a 3 usually, to me, says this is what I liked about it, this is what I didn't like about it. And it's a plus if you can find reviews with pros, cons, very lengthy, very detailed. Those are the ones you want to anchor on when you're trying to figure out where you're going to stay. I also like to cross-reference that with multiple review pages. Never use the one that's linked to the hotel page, but I always go through different ones. TripAdvisor, Reddit, and other review pages usually pop up, and I like to just read through all of them and see if I can find consistencies or inconsistencies. Lastly, the pictures. Do not look at the pictures that the hotel provide. It's like selling a house. They're going to be photoshopped, lighted perfectly. Usually in the review pages, there's a section where they have pictures from guests that stayed at the hotel. They took it with their phones or whatever. Those are the ones you want to look at. That's where you're going to get the real idea of what it looks like through a regular lens or through a regular person's eyes. Another thing to keep in mind is the area your hotel is in. Remember, you're already trying out a new spot, so the last thing you need to be is in a bad area for a good price. I like to be near shopping centers, Targets, Starbucks, gas stations, so you don't have to go too far to get anything you need while out there. I normally have Google Maps up, and if I'm going to an event, I'll have a hotel from the event, or if I'm flying through an airport, I have the hotel from the airport. And I'm looking at the mileage, I'm looking at way to get there, is it traffic, what time of day? You know, Google lets you do predictive, like if you left at this time and this time, like really figure out what you're going to be dealing with. Hypothetically, everything could change obviously, but I try to be as prepared as possible. Another side note with hotels, some hotels usually provide breakfast. That's something to think about when you're traveling. That's 2 meals you don't have to worry about for the 2 days you're there. Once you got your hotel and it's booked, now you can start looking for places to eat around there. Maybe this place has restaurants you don't have where you're from, or maybe it's a place with a famous locations that you need to be making reservations for like today. Either way, you want to plan out lunch or dinners beforehand so you don't spend most of your vacation time driving around looking for something. I think that about covers the basics for a weekend trip. Even if you start off traveling somewhere close to you, you just want to get the ball rolling. Your first trip doesn't have to be overseas or 100 miles away. Like for instance, if you live in California, go to Arizona for the weekend. Go to Vegas for the weekend just to get the ball rolling. Practice these tips and then you can become better. So when you're ready to make those bigger trips, you already kind of got some reps under you. If you have any tips or tricks that you use, feel free to leave them in the comments. I do a podcast once a month, how-to videos, reels, shorts, and TikToks. All the info is in the description. See y'all at the next one. Peace.